The Arizona Coyotes season woes continue as they remain winless 5 games through their NHL season, 2021-2022 season. And now they go on to face one of the most difficult road trips that they'll face, starting with Florida. We'll break down that game today, as well as take a look down the I-10 to see what the baby Coyotes, the Tucson Roadrunners, have been doing in their American Hockey League season, all in today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Robyn and Carl Pavlik right next to me that way. Those who are watching it. The video is flipped for me, so it's weird. Anyways, welcome to the show. This is Locked On Coyotes. What a weekend it's been. Hope you guys had a good weekend. Maybe better weekend than the Coyotes had.
Has not been a good weekend for Coyotes fans, I'm sure. I spent the weekend watching horror movies. It was slightly less scary than watching the Coyotes play, so that was fun.
I spent the weekend working, and then Sunday I spent in self-quarantine because I had to get COVID tested. Hooray!
Yeah, that's always fun.
I should be fine though. I am vaccinated. I've been masking up. I've been doing all the stuff I had to do. But when there's exposure around, when coworkers are exposed, I want to be safer than sorry.
Yeah, definitely. And it's the responsible thing to do. Definitely good on you for that. But I was at the game on Saturday, so that was fun. And yeah, I had to leave my house for it, and I kind of wish I didn't.
Yeah, that Saturday game, I was not there. I was actually in Tucson again, which we'll talk about later in this episode. But I was following it, and I thought to myself, I even told people that morning, that Saturday morning, like, guys, all right, here's my picks. Bet the Coyotes the cover and take the under. This is going to be a low-scoring game, but the Coyotes will prevail because obviously they need it. They should be hungry. They should want it because they are, at that point, 4 games through the season, 0-3-1. Now they are 0-4-1. They got some problems they got to address now.
Yeah, I do think the Coyotes looked better than they did against the Edmonton Oilers. I think the Oilers still stands out as the worst game that the Coyotes have played this season so far. It's still early, but I saw some definite improvement. But they are having scoring issues, which is very unfortunate because the Edmonton Oilers and the Islanders both played with their backup goaltenders. And you would expect those to be games where the Coyotes could, generate something.
Right.
But no, they're getting bad puck luck. They're not able to finish off on their conversions. It was so disheartening to watch the Coyotes play a solid first period out shooting the Islanders, and then one turnover leads to a 2-on-1. Cal Clarebuck opens up the scoring, and all of a sudden that's all kind of for naught.
You think that's probably maybe one of the things that's been affecting this team the most in the first 5 games of this season, just their lack of confidence, and because I feel that's what I'm feeling like, because we saw them start off the season. I mean, except the exception of the first one, but they looked relatively competitive through the first bit of the Blues game and through the Sabres game. This team has a decent competitive edge. But once something bad happens, this team kind of clambers up into a shell, and they just look bad.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to say that was the issue on Saturday, but that's definitely been a problem for the Coyotes. and it's going to be a problem this whole season. When I see people talking on Twitter, they're like, "Yeah, the Coyotes are supposed to lose," um, and that's kind of true, but also not. Like tanking is a very like it's a process for teams, and part of that is they need to make sure that they have people in place to keep the guys in the locker room motivated, to make sure that they still have a reason to play, because none of those guys are playing for like some 18-year-old who's going to steal their job next year.
You're
they're
right.
all they're playing for themselves, for their team, for pride, and it's kind of the responsibility of Bear and like everyone else to, find out ways to make sure that everyone stays motivated. And I don't want to say that he's doing a bad job at that. It's still really early. He's still feeling out this team. He's still establishing his system, but it's something to watch if the coaching staff, if the management can like make sure that these guys are like mentally prepared for these kind of situations, because if confidence wasn't a killer against the Islanders, it definitely was against the Blues. It probably was against the Oilers too. So I would like to see them more engaged. I would like to see them be able to like kind of shake things off a little bit more, because they're going to need to learn to do that this year. They're going to need to learn to shake things off.
I mean, especially with the competition they have in this season, it is. I mean, you're not going up against the Pacific Division like most of the Pacific Division teams 90% of the time this year, or 800% of the time this year, because it's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to beat up on the Kings and Ducks, and also the Blues at that time,
Yeah.
and just run circles around them because they're just not good teams. This is a whole different story because you have to face better teams.
Yeah. Except for the Chicago Blackhawks, who are also have not won a game. I just saw that they were booed after their
Oh,
most recent loss, their second straight home game where they were booed after a loss. Um, it's kind of it's funny that we're not there yet, but there's also different expectations. I think people assume the Blackhawks were going to be competitive for
yeah.
reasons. I'm not entirely sure
With the
why.
Blackhawks, everyone was like, "Oh, they just picked up Seth Jones. They just got Vesna winning goaltending, Marc Andre Fleury. They're back in it."
Yeah.
Oh no,
You're like, nope, that is a band aid for a very aging core. That like you don't just get to have that kind of revitalization anymore in the NHL. Um, but yeah, the Coyotes will be facing the Blackhawks in I think mid-November. So eventually one of them is going to win a game. Uh,
the question is, both teams going to be winless by then still?
oh, that would be awesome. I would. Uh, that'd be very frustrating as a fan watching games, but just being able to cover like two winless teams facing off against each other, what's the opposite of an unstoppable force and an immovable object?
You want to know what teams they have in between? Um, the Yeah, so the team for the Coyotes side, I'll just say the Coyotes side because that's the one that matters to us.
Yeah.
The Panthers, which we'll talk about later in this episode, the Lightning, the Capitals, the Hurricanes, the Flyers, the Ducks, the Kraken, the Wild.
Hmm.
Um, Flyers, winnable game
Sure.
depending on goaltending.
Yeah.
The Ducks, winnable game. The Kraken, toss up, maybe winnable game. They have not been playing well either.
Yeah.
The Wild, no.
No. That there are some chances, and I do think the Coyotes could surprise because we always see that happen. Hockey is a dumb sport that we all love, where any team could theoretically beat any team any given night.
Oh yeah.
Um, you get a
Hey,
hot
there was a
goalie,
reason. There was a reason why the Montreal Canadiens somehow made it to the Stanley Cup final last year.
yes. And I think, personally, I would like to see the Coyotes beat the Kraken. just because everything about the Seattle Kraken annoys me.
Really?
Yes, yes. Just from the name to we saw their home opener, and big thing I was calling out, they were serving steak tartare at the arena, and
Interesting.
that is just not an arena food. Steak tartare for like $15 at the Climate Pledge Arena.
I mean, let's be real. What does Vegas have in their concession stands? You don't even want to know.
No,
Like,
no, no. The Gila River Arena does now have a Korean barbecue place that
ooh.
I was anxious to check out. Turned out they didn't have any food during the third period, so that may have been the most disappointing part of that game for me. Like not the score, because I kind of expected the Coyotes to do badly, um, but I couldn't get Korean barbecue, and that may make me sound like a hypocrite. But Korean barbecue is different than steak tartare.
Now I want to have Korean barbecue wings. You're making me hungry for those.
Well, don't want to make you hungry because we still have a lot of show left to record.
We still have a lot of shows up to record. We will actually go ahead and get ready to preview the Coyotes versus Panthers, the start to one of the most difficult road trips that they will have to face coming up in just a little bit. But first, let's get a word from one of our sponsors.
Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows, you're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friend's login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
All right, so let's now get to the beginning of this road trip. First, before we get to the game itself, Carl, this road trip, like I said, but right before we went to the ad break, it's gonna be a difficult road trip.
Yeah, the Coyotes are not going to be playing easy teams. It's going to start off against the tough Florida Panthers, and it's not going to get any easier.
And again, you mentioned, I mentioned what their upcoming schedule is. Obviously, Florida tonight, which we'll break down in literally just a second. Then Tampa, then the Capitals, Ovechkin and the Capitals, then the Hurricanes, then the Flyers, who again can be a toss depending on goaltending. And then
Yeah.
you finish out the road trip against Anaheim.
That Anaheim game, I think we're going to be anxious for it. But right now, the Panthers are pretty much the anti-Coyotes. They've won all of their games, including one overtime win. They've been able to get consistent offense. They have also gotten extremely good defense and goaltending. Um, 2 years ago, we were all making fun of the Sergei Bobrovsky contract. He is looking phenomenal to start off the season.
I picked him up on fantasy because of that. I'm just like, well, if he's got a streak, I'll go hold on to him for a little bit.
Yeah, he is. Let's see, because I have this down. Actually, I don't have his numbers right in front of me, but he has been good. There have been quite a few games where the Panthers have only allowed their opponents to score one goal, including games against the Colorado Avalanche and Tampa Bay Lightning, who the Panthers beat 4-1. And those are two of the better teams in the NHL. We have the
All
Stanley
right,
Cup winners.
I have his stats ready for you.
Oh, okay.
Through 4 games, he's got 4 wins, a 9.42 save percentage, and a 1.99 goals against average.
Just absolutely insane.
I was like, oh my god, is this the Bobrovsky we've been waiting for?
Yeah. And even if he isn't in net, Spencer Knight has been also having an extremely good.
Yeah,
Um, he was responsible for one of the 4-1 wins against the Lightning. Like if you're putting rookie goaltender Spencer Knight in against the Tampa Bay Lightning and you're the Panthers, so it's also like a big rivalry game. Like that's a big vote of confidence for the young netminder.
absolutely. So Florida goaltending is doing well. There's just a team overall. Like I think I'm trying to see if I can get any other skater statistics on here, but like,
The,
um,
their big addition during the offseason, if people are not aware, was they got Sam Reinhart from the Buffalo Sabres
that's right.
for a first round pick and a goalie prospect because I guess the Sabres were selling low. I would have thought Sam Reinhart would have been worth more. Maybe they expected the Panthers to do worse, but like that's not a big return for like a center who was consistently posting 20 goal seasons.
So I'm looking at some of the players that I recognize. The players that I recognize that are with them, obviously besides Reinhardt, Joe Thornton. I forgot for a sec he was on the Florida Panthers.
Oh my, that was so this happened on Saturday. I was like, "Oh yeah, Chara is an Islander now." Just like sitting in the stands with my friend, and I'm like, "You see that really tall guy? That's Tadeo Chara. He is very old for a professional athlete, and yet he is out there looking crazy." But who else is on the Panthers?
Alexander Barkov, Sam Bennett, Kevin Connaughton, Anthony Duclair,
Mm,
Aaron Ekblad, Patrick Hornquist,
some
Jonathan Huberdeau.
good names. They no longer have former Coyote Keith Yandel. He
No,
is gone, bought
he's
out,
he is now in
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah,
So we'll get a chance to see him on the road trip, but a little bit later on the road trip.
yeah, a little bit later down the road. Um, well, apparently he's not doing so well on the power play, but then
Yeah.
again, are we surprised?
No, not really. I just hope he keeps that Iron Man streak going because
Yeah,
yeah, he seems to be maybe a little bit on the decline as he's getting older. Happens. We all start to kind of break down, especially professional athletes, and it's just a really impressive streak.
speaking of Iron Man streak, if Kessel keeps on his Iron Man streak throughout this week, he will pass Patrick Marlowe for third
mm,
by the end of the road trip.
good for him. That would be like there was questions on if he'd be able to make the start of the season,
He did.
and he did. I can't say he's been consistently good for the Coyotes. Like no one's been consistently good for the
No,
Coyotes, but he's had some. He had a couple of good offensive nights, though. I would like to see more from him. Future leader who is selling himself to other teams as he's looking to get traded this year.
absolutely. Let's get some of your thoughts on the game though. Like tonight, so it's at 4 o'clock, so it's an early game for us
Yeah.
here. Like I don't get off work, assuming I am able to go to work until 5, so I missed the first period. But anyways, it's an early game, so let's get some predictions and some thoughts.
It's tough to say because I think the past 3 games we've said that the Coyotes are hungry, and they are. They absolutely are. Um, I can say that I thought the Coyotes looked best against the Buffalo Sabres on the road, so maybe we get some of that road energy going. Florida's a tough team, though. I do not see the Coyotes winning this one, which
No,
means that they probably will, given I thought they maybe had a chance in the last two. Um, but maybe they turn it around for this one, but it's going to be tough to give the Panthers their first loss of the year, especially running up against hot goaltenders, running up against like consistently good offense. These are things that the Coyotes haven't necessarily had to face yet. Like the New York Islanders and the Edmonton Oilers played their backups, and
Hmm.
they're not Sergei Bobrovsky, so who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? Here are the betting lines for the game, courtesy of our friend at betonline.ag. The Arizona Coyotes are 1.5 underdogs at +100. Money line, it's -310 for the Florida Panthers, +273 for the Coyotes, and total points is at 6 points. Bet the over, it's -108.
Hmm.
Um,
Like I said earlier, the Panthers beat the Colorado Avalanche and the Tampa Bay Lightning 4-1. So it's tough to imagine the Coyotes, you know, winning this game. It's tougher to imagine them being as defensively sound as either of those two teams either. So I don't know. I can see it going over that goal line. I can definitely see Florida just unloading and like three players get a hat trick or just something insane.
I mean, I could also feel them being like um, at least a little bit more lax because they're like, I mean, like they're one of the last remaining, I think, if the last remaining undefeated team.
Uh,
Um,
it
and I, I think that I think this one can go under.
Yeah. We do often kind of see teams like on the road when they're able to simplify things. They're not playing in front of the home crowd. There does seem to be something to that. And like I said, I think the Coyotes, best game was on the road. So yeah, maybe they tighten things up and they're able to keep Florida from scoring too much. I don't see them winning tonight
No,
though. I
my
It'd
my
be a tough one.
my betting picks are or take Florida's points, so the 1.5, so they will win by more than that, and the total will go under. And I'm gonna make that same 4-1 just because why not?
They have had to go to overtime once, and that was against the Pittsburgh Penguins, which again just really goes to show like the Coyotes had a relatively easy schedule and they weren't able to get it done. The Panthers were facing some of the better teams in the NHL and consistently getting it done, so
Which is what
not a good
made them
sign.
at the top of the power rankings, our last week's power rankings, because like they've been winning a lot.
Yeah. They've been winning a lot. They've been winning against tough competition. Um, if you're a Panthers fan, it's a it's a good time. I don't know, like how if they're a serious cup contender. I don't know if anyone's going to call them that. Uh, but
Well, it's too early in the season to really think about that. I think
yeah,
I usually don't go until the holiday roster freeze until I can decide cup contender or not.
yeah, and they don't really have like a history of going deep, and they didn't make too many changes during the off season.
But they were
So
a good team last year, and they were in the toughest division last year.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's Sunbelt hockey, so I'm not gonna be upset that the Florida Panthers are doing bad or doing well, but yeah, it's unfortunately just like looking like it's gonna be an extremely tough game for the Dogs.
Absolutely. Once again, my bet online picks will be take the puck line, Florida -1.5, and take the under. That are my picks. Obviously, I advise everyone to make sound judgments on your own. You don't have to listen to me. I have been doing moderately decent on some of my picks. So,
Yeah. Well,
um,
as we were discussing like before the podcast started, like the gambling lines seem pretty consistent because no one really knows anything yet. Like it's still like pretty small sample size, and that's true for the professional gamblers. It's true for us as well. We're all still learning things at this point. Uh, in each game, get a little bit more information. get a little bit better idea of what the teams look like.
Exactly. That's what also makes hockey very hard to bet on because there's a lot of things. But again, it's also fun to do so. So,
Yeah,
also, guys, please gamble responsibly. I should
of
have to
course.
say that. Anyways, we still got more to get to on this episode, but we'll talk a little bit of Tucson. They had themselves a couple games this weekend. They're home openers over the weekend, so we will talk about that in just a sec. But before that, I want to talk to you guys about Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar in the land. Did you know that Built Bar has so many delicious flavors? There is something for everyone. When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they are definitely passionate about their favorites. They've got flavors ranging from cherry barcia to mint brownie, double chocolate, orange cookies and cream, German chocolate, and more. I recently tried their one of their limited time paranormal pumpkin, also blueberry muffin. Not bad at all. I like these. These are pretty good. And yeah, again, they're pretty good tasting protein bars. I super recommend them. The best part is they are high in protein. They are low in calories, low in sugar, low in carbs. So they are amazingly healthy. That's what's the amazing thing about these. They taste great and they're healthy. So that's amazing thing about Built Bar. So if you guys, I want you guys to try it too. So if you go to built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15, you get 15% off your order. Once again, you go to LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. All right. So once again, back here on Locked On Coyotes, Robyn Leano and Carl Pavlik, as we get ready to, we talked about the Florida Panthers game, but we're preparing you for a lot of different things. Let's go ahead and start doing a little bit of other recap of the other team here in Arizona, the other hockey team here in Arizona, the American Hockey League team, Tucson Roadrunners, the development team for the Arizona Coyotes.
The team that has all of the players who are probably going to be better this year than most of the players on the Coyotes roster, at least like stats wise, like against their competition, they will have better outcomes. I don't want to imply that they're better players than the NHL players.
I mean, let's put it this way: the Roadrunners are 2-2 in the first 4 games. They got 2 regulation wins and 2 regulation losses. And I gotta say, their wins looked good. Their losses not so. I mean, one of their losses was like won by 1 goal. This most recent one last night was not a good one. It was 6-2 to Texas. They always have a problem with Texas. It almost seems like.
Yeah.
And their back-to-backs are hard, especially when you start your goaltender back-to-back, Ivan Prosvetov. Do I trust him a lot? Yes, but starting a goaltender back-to-back is hard.
Yes. Yeah, it definitely can be. I'm surprised that they elected to go with him for the back-to-back. But 2-2, not a terrible record. Much better than the Coyotes with their 0-4-1.
Yeah, that is a good thing. And again, like what you were saying, some of these players are going to have better stats in the American League than players will have in the up in the NHL level. And here's a good example of that in Saturday's game, the one I was at. The first star of the game was none other than Ben McCartney, who got himself a natural hat trick.
Very nice for Ben. McCartney definitely I think he really seemed to catch the fan base's attention during the preseason. He had a
Mm-hmm.
really good rookie face-off tournament. Looked good in the preseason. I think everyone was expecting him to go down, but it's nice to see that success has continued to translate in the AHL. We do often see players who they get sent down. They're frustrated. They struggle a bit to start off, find their game. They calm down and they're like, okay, this is where I gotta be. This is where I need to work on stuff. But yeah, if he's hitting the ground running, that's great.
And that's the good thing too is not just McCartney, but seeing other players do well too. Liam Kirk got his first North American professional goal on Saturday as well. He scored the first goal. That was part of that 4-0 win over Texas. Vladislav Koyachuk got an assist on one of the goals. they're, a lot of these players, a lot of these prospects that are huge, highly touted prospects for the future of the Coyotes, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. I mean, Liam Kirk, it's always great to see because whenever he does anything good, we get to see the UK fans' reaction to it. They love Kirk. Um, and yeah, I don't think he had a great preseason. So
No,
he was a player that, I was definitely looking forward to seeing like what he can do professional wise because he has had an interesting development. You know, the
what I say
UK
will
is
be
not a traditional like path for players.
what I was saying will be a pretty big difference. Probably why it was tough for him in preseason. It was the kid has to adjust to the North American game.
Yeah,
North American game, the hockey in North America is very different than overseas.
yeah. He's played like what was it, 2 or 3 seasons for Petersburg?
Yeah, he did, but like then he went overseas and he played
Yeah,
internationally, and like and he was trained in the UK for the most part. Like,
yeah. Trained in the UK, played largely in the UK, and there's some advantages to that because he's playing against men, but they're men playing in the UK, so it's not one of the top leagues, even in Europe by European standards. All power to him. I have definitely followed some UK hockey at various points in my life, and they're very passionate fan bases, but it's not the go-to spot for European hockey.
yeah, it's definitely not. There are a lot of other places that people go to, but I mean, and it seems like he's adjusting well though. He's readjusting well. Again, he got that goal. He got that goal uh, on on Saturday. I was losing my train of thought there, but
Always
yeah,
happens with back to backs because you're like, when was that? What about Barrett Hayton? How's he been doing?
he had, I believe, an assist on Saturday. I think did he? Maybe. But he's been looking good. I mean, his presence is there, and it looks like he's there. I mean, he might not get in the score sheet a lot to start off the season, but again, he's. Uh, I mean, he looks pretty decent. I'm trying to get his stats up right here as I try to find it.
I mean, Hayton was always like initially touted as a defensively responsible center, and he had like a good offensive flair after he was drafted, but he is supposed to be a player who can like play well away from the puck. Um, very important thing for a center. Still generate offense. So I'd like to see him get a bit more, but this is his development time. He's still a very young forward who has had to deal with a whole lot of things affecting his development that you don't typically see.
Yeah, so here's an interesting thing. I tried to bring up Barrett Hayton's stats. He's only got 1 point in this through the first 4 games, which is one assist. He's posting a +1. So he's when he's on the ice, they're doing a little bit better.
Yeah.
Um, he's got 6 penalty minutes,
Mm.
and only 5 shots recorded. So that again, like you said, he is more focused on the defensive side, being a defensive center,
Yeah.
which makes sense,
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, hopefully we get to see a little bit more of him. Maybe once he gets used to Verde's system, because despite him playing with the Roadrunners last year, he was not playing under Verde. Verde was
No,
up with NHL.
yeah,
Uh, and then one last player that I think everyone's kind of curious about, Yan Unique. How's he been doing?
Yannick, he's at 2 points. He's got a goal and an assist through the first 4 games. I'm loving his presence. He's continuing the physical presence, but he doesn't need to do it as much as he used to. He doesn't need he is not the one that has to fight people anymore because that's why the Coyotes brought in Boko Imama to be to be that person. Speaking of which, it was funny on Saturday when Boko Imama and Jeremy Gregoire got in a fight. I'm like, where have I heard these two names before?
And around that same, probably around that same time, Liam O'Brien was dropping the gloves with I forget who he fought against the Islanders. The Coyotes are definitely a more physical team, and I've mentioned this before. Like one of the things that was always kind of lost in translation, like reading about Unique, is just how physical a player he is. Like
Right.
getting to see him in preseason at that rookie faceoff, I'm like, man, this guy throws people around. So, you know, I would like to see him develop into a very good offensive player. In addition to that physical, and I'm glad he's able to like maybe focus on that with some muscle in Tucson. But uh, it'll be curious to see how those two develop, especially.
It will be, and again, for the Tucson Runners to start 2-2, pretty good. Obviously, I'd expect them to start a little bit better. Again, losing 6-2 on Sunday is not a way to go on a back to back. But like we said, starting Pro Espartado back to back, I'm maybe they thought they decided Kojanot wasn't ready to start a game, but
Could be, but it's still early in Tucson. It's also still early in the Coyotes rebuild. We talk about the Roadrunners being the better team this year, and that's probably going to be the case. But I think like they're really going to start paying off dividends like 2 years from now when they get like the players that the Coyotes draft in the next couple of years and just kind of get restocked with all that young talent that
ex-
they get to develop.
exactly. For those who want to follow the Tucson Roadrunners, their next games are this weekend at home. So if you want to come, if you're in Phoenix, want to come down the I-10 and watch the Roadrunners take on their border rivals, the San Diego Gulls.
Yeah.
And we know they hate each other. That's kind of no secret. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. The Coyotes are playing the Hurricanes on Sunday, but Saturday, head down to Tucson. Watch a
Exactly.
game.
Exactly. That should be fun, especially with the potential of seeing some players down there in San Diego. Who's active for them? Who are the leading guys? I'm actually curious. I actually don't recognize half these people. All right.
As always happens in minor league, you're like, huh, I guess I haven't gotten as much buzz about this as I thought I did.
Mainly because Zegras and Drysdale are up in Anaheim, so
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
The Anaheim Ducks are a very like they have their good players with them now. They're at that stage where you know, they're not great yet, but they're getting stocked up, and in a couple years they'll be pretty solid.
Absolutely. But we are out of time here. We are going overtime, actually. So we're going to go ahead and end this episode. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, a like, a comment, or subscribe. We are available everywhere you get the podcasts, including YouTube for our video podcasts. Um, if you don't forget to interact with us on social media, we are available at LO_Coyotes, at RobLeon1, that's me, and at Carl Pavlik FFH, that is Carl. You can once again follow us, send us any questions you might have, either via just a mention or a DM. We'll answer them right back, or potentially on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Anyways, that is it for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys are staying safe. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.